Hi everyone, I'm Megan, and today I am here to teach you about paper party petals. And I want you to try and say that 3 times fast. Paper party petals, paper party petals. So what I'm showing you right now is obviously a work in progress. So there's some holes left for me to fill with some different party petals. But what is cool about the class we're going to do today is once I show you some of these techniques of how to make the paper peonies, like this little one down here, and how to make these paper roses, you can use variations of paper, variations of colors, variations of sizes, and then use something like a computer box, Amazon box, some kind of cardboard, and an X-Acto knife to kind of put together some sort of background. So even if it's just a pop of color here or there, even a centerpiece on a table or something like that, once you get the hang of these party petals, you can make them as large or as small as you want, and you can use them for lots of different party reasons. So we are going to make together a paper peony, and we're going to make a paper rose. I also want to let you know that coming up next week, I'll be teaching a class on how to make a hand knit bunny. So if you want to make a hand knit bunny pillow with me, that's a class you can sign up for next week. We're also going to be making bath bombs. So every Thursday and Friday, you can join me here and make a different craft every day, Thursday and Friday, for all the month of March, and of course, the rest of February. So please come and join us. And I want to kind of let you know today that what we're going to do in class is going to be what to do with the petals after you've cut them. So if you're someone who's never used a Cricut machine before, this might not be the very best place for you to start. With this class, we are going to have the paper already cut, and I'm going to show you how to assemble them. So once you have these pieces assembled, then you can put them together in the way that we have it. So the patterns for these petals are links that you can go to Cricut Design Space. And if you type in my name, Meghan Fahey, F-A-H-E-Y, and you go down to the bottom, you'll be able to find me as a Cricut design user. And you can see the links to the 4 different petals that I have. So when Felicia gets a minute, she's going to try and throw those into the chat for you also. But there are 4 different things in the chat. One of them is 2 different sizes of peonies, and then 2 different sizes of roses. So for the peonies, am I still forward facing, Felicia? I think so.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. For the peonies, I have one where it cuts 8.5 by 11. So this is a normal paper size. So even if you just have colored printer paper, it doesn't have to be cardstock. It doesn't have to be anything special or super heavy. You can cut 8.5 by 11 using one of my designs. One of the other designs, you can do a full mat, which would be the 12 by 12. And then you can have 2 different sizes of the paper roses. So if you want to have a smaller paper rose, or if you don't have a lot of time and you just want a 1 mat cut, it'll cut you a smaller rose like this. If you want your rose to be a little bit bigger, then you can always use 2 mats, which just means that each one of the petals is going to be a little bit larger. So it'll take up more space when you're cutting. So all of the different designs, the 4 different designs, 2 different sizes of peonies and 2 different sizes of roses are available in Cricut Design Space. And you can print those out, and then I'm going to show you what you do with them once you print them out. So I think we're ready to switch over to the other camera. And I'm going to start with a paper peony. So Learn with Michaels is the Instagram channel that we have. So if you happen to use these cuts and go ahead and make these flowers, I would love to see what you create. So please feel free to share those with us and tag us at Learn with Michaels. Or my own personal Instagram is 4M Coleman, and you're welcome to show me what you're working on, and you can kind of keep track of some of the things that I'm working on and what some of the future classes might be. Always welcome to use our hashtags and tell us that you're playing along with us and show us what you're doing. So what I want to do first are going to be these paper peonies, which I think are really lovely, and you can do them in lots of different colors. So the paper that you would need for this, like I said before, doesn't have to be special. You can just go ahead and use any kind of printer paper. But Michaels has a really lovely pack of paper that's Recollections, and it's called something like Paper Flowers is like the name of the pack. And so it has this really nice deserty, sandy rose and teals that kind of go together. And then it has this gold foil-like paper too. So I love this gold foil paper to kind of put in the center for the stamens of the peony to really give it that nice pop. So it's nice to have some 8.5 by 11 really good paper. Another option would be one of those larger paper stacks. So when you have one of the larger paper stacks, there's different weights to those. So something like this, which is also a Recollections, is a little thicker. It's the kind of cardstock that when you like put your fingers, it almost feels like canvas. It's got some texture to it. So this one is fine. And if you have it, you're welcome to use it. But what happens with this one is that it doesn't dye all the way through. So you can kind of see that white line just by me holding it up like this. So some of the tips of your roses or your peonies are going to be white instead of the color of the paper. So there's another paper pack that's a 65-pound weight, and that's actually the one that I recommend to use for this project. So either some 8.5 by 11 of that paper pack or some of the 12 by 12. If you have a light grip mat, it's nice to have a light grip mat because once you have put it through your Cricut machine and cut it, then you can just kind of peel off this extra paper and you'll see all these different little flower designs that we have. Now you'll notice that we have 2 large petals. This is for the peony, 2 medium, 2 small, and then 2 stamen. So if you're doing different ones, you can print them on different colors and you can mix and match the stamens. So maybe you want to have a purple peony with an orange stamen, or maybe you want to have a blue peony with a purple stamen, or you want to just make all your stamens in the middle this gold. You can do the same cut and make these petals disappear on the cut and use just these to put inside. And then you can just peel these off of this because it is the light grip mat. They shouldn't stick too hard. And you should be able to either peel them up with your fingers or, of course, one of your Cricut tools. So once you've collected all of those, I'm going to be using what color did I decide? A red to show you how to make the peony. So I peeled these off of my mat before, and I have my 2 large. I have 1, possibly 2 medium, and I am going to have 2 smalls. So let me find those other ones I'm missing. Here's another medium, and here's another small, and the 2 stamens. And we're going to build the layers together in order to create the peony like this. So if you have a scraper tool from your Cricut kit or something like this, you can also use the edge of a table. You can use a ruler. You can use a scissor if you don't have it open, if you're just using the flat part of a scissor. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold these and we're going to kind of curve the paper. And the way I'm doing this is by putting pressure on my thumb and gliding it across with this tool. And again, you could use a ruler. You can put this on the side of a table. You can do lots of different things to do this same exact technique. But I'm curving all of these petals upward. Not a huge curve, just a little bit, because it is going to be the bottom. And then when I take the next one, I might give it a little bit more of a curve. So in design space at the top of design, I'm reading some of the questions in the chat. There's something that has a question mark or a search bar. And if you type in Meghan Fahey, Meghan Fahey, and you go down to the bottom, you'll see a whole bunch of makers and you'll see my picture. And then when you click on that, you'll see these 4 different designs for these 4 different size peonies and paper roses. So now I have these 2. I'm going to go on to my medium ones. And the medium ones are kind of trifolds. And what's going to happen is there's a little notch on this one. That little notch is going to get a little pop of hot glue. And then it's going to give us that 3-dimensional 3-flower move. So I'm going to go through each one of these petals. And I'm going to kind of curve it to the right and to the left to kind of almost make it grip my finger. So each of these 3 petals, I'm going to turn to the right and to the left. And if you have other questions or if there's something I've missed so far in the chat, Felicia, feel free to jump in because I'm going to be doing this to some petals. But if you have questions about what I'm doing so far, let me know. So I've just curved each one of these to kind of wrap around my fingers. And the more you work with the paper, the more you can make the paper, this sounds weird, but the more you can make the paper fleshy or make it feel like an actual petal. So just by kind of the oils on your skin getting onto the paper and you're moving it around in different directions, it's loosening up that pulp and kind of making it more pliable. And when it's more pliable rather than flat and hard, it's going to give you a better looking paper flower. So I've done that with these two, and these are the trifolds, so I am going to put some hot glue and glue those together. And then these last ones are little weirdos, and they're also having 3 petals, and it looks like a little, I don't know if anybody ever watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I'm thinking about that character, what's his name, the brain? Didn't he have the brain in his body? If anyone knows what I'm talking about, please tell me in the chat. So anyway, you can go ahead and use that. And what you're going to do with these little brains with hands is you're going to, again, go to the right and go to the left. I'm not sure if the Cricut file will, if you can get it if you don't have a Cricut. I think everybody has access to Cricut's design space. That's free. But then there is something within Cricut that if you get specific designs, you would have to pay for them. So I think everybody can go to the public site. But if you actually want to cut something, you might need to pay. So I went and I folded each one of these, each of my brains. This tool that I'm using is called a scraper tool. And it's a tool that you can get something like the Cricut Joy, which is a smaller version of a Cricut Machine, has a Cricut tool set called the Cricut Joy tool set. And it's just a scraper, a weeder, and a scraper, or not a scraper, but another kind of like spatula-like tool. Thank you. Someone in the chat has told me they know what I'm talking about with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that makes me feel better. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Otherwise, you'll have to look it up and then you'll have a good laugh. So I've taken all the petals and kind of given them some curve, and I have been letting my hot glue gun warm up. And I am keeping my hot glue gun in a weird little metal pan because I don't want to burn my table. And I know myself, and I know that when I let go of my hot glue gun, it's going to go all over the place. So I'm going to try and keep it contained right here. And I'm going to start with the bottom and I'm going to build up. So on the bottom, on the bottom petal, I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue right here. I'm going to move this over here, rearrange, and I'm going to try and lay this down. And when I'm laying this down on top of the other one, I'm trying to make it so that the petals don't exactly line up so that they're offsetting each other. And then you can still go in afterwards and make the inner petals a little bit more pronounced. I just ripped one of them. And it's okay because if you have tape or even a hot glue gun, you can quickly fix that. And it's still going to have other layers that cover. So you're not even going to be able to tell that mistake later on. So I made a mistake for you so you can check that out first. And then with these next medium levels, remember I said they had that tab. So I'm going to put some hot glue on that tab. And I'm going to hold it like this. And just kind of let that hot glue settle for a moment. And you can tell this like triangle in the middle. That's about how much I folded it over. And once that's set enough, that's going to give us another layer. And so then you can go ahead and put some hot glue in the middle again and put in this next layer. I'm going to put the tab and I'm going to hold this and let the glue set and try not to burn myself. And then when I glue this into the next part, I'm going to put a little bit more glue. And again, I'm going to try and offset it and not let the petals line directly up with one another. And I could put this into here. So I'm just kind of letting that glue seep and letting it harden. And then we're ready for the little brains. So with the little brains and their little arms down here, what we're going to do is we're going to fold these up, and these arms are going to kind of connect together. So when I fold it up, the arm goes on top of the arm, and this is a little glue spot for you. So you can put a glue spot and then hold it up and let it dry, and let it harden. And I'm going to do that with all the little brain arms going around. Put a little dab of glue, connect the arms, holding hands. Try not to burn myself. And I'm going to do it one more time over here. And this is going to give me the next layer. So that gives you a tighter spot in this middle portion. And it looks like I need to hold this just for another second so I can get it all dry. And you'll see how it's folding up nicely to kind of make that quarter size middle piece. And those petals kind of tightly wrapping around that. And then when I'm feeling pretty good about that, I can go ahead and lay down some more glue and put that into there. And I have one more, which means that I'm going to want to join the arms even tighter together. So I'm going to put this even closer together so that it fits inside of this one. So I'm going to be putting some glue on the arms again. Looks like I need a little more glue. Putting some glue on each of these arms and holding it. I think I can do two at the same time. We'll see if I really can. And hold those together. So I see a question in the chat that says, are the links on the class page or on the YouTube page for the petal designs? Great question. I think, Felicia, do you know if when we put the YouTube video up, if we're able to put links with it?
Yes. So basically, when you go onto the YouTube channel, when it's uploaded, excuse me, you can look under the description. That's where the supplies links will be listed, and any of the design links can be listed there as well. Please also note that in the chat, you can save this chat. If you click in the chat area and click on the three dots, you'll see a button that says Save Chat. And I would definitely say do that towards the end of class, and you'll be able to save the chat with the links.
There you go. And even if you don't have the links, if you do find Cricut Design Space, and again, that top search bar, if you can find my name again, Meghan Fahey, then you can type that in, and at the bottom of the page, you should be able to see my picture and see these 4 designs there too. All right, we're at the last step with these where we have these 2 different size stamen pieces. So what's fun about these ones is that they just kind of fold up, just like that. So you just fold all those pieces up. And then the smaller one is obviously going to go inside of the larger one with just a dot of hot glue. And you can play around with them. And then both of these are going to go inside that last piece we just finished. And they all neatly stack together to give us a perfect paper peony, which I love. So again, you can tell that this one, I let some of the petals pretty loose. And this one, I had some petals that are a little bit tighter. You can take your scraper and you can make these petals go in different directions. So all of this works together to make a really cool peony. And it's nice if a bunch of your peonies are different, so that if you do end up making some sort of larger display, it's nice to have different size variation so you can fit things in different places, and it's nice to have different colors. So like this one has a tighter center, and then this one's a little bit different. So it all kind of works together to give you an overall cool picture. So that is the paper peony, and that's the first one we are doing together. The next one we're doing together is the paper rose. So this is a larger version. I think this is probably about 3 mats worth of paper. Cricut does have a brand new machine called the Cricut Venture, which cuts huge pieces of paper, like classroom banner size pieces of paper. And so if you were really into this, if you really think that this is your passion and you wanted to do something like this in order to start a small business or something like that, you can cut petals the size of this 12 by 12 paper. You can cut petals as large as you want, which is going to make you even larger flowers. So it does take time, because the more mats you use with a Cricut, the more time it's going to take, because each one of those mats needs to cut. But it could be worth it to get those really large paper sizes. So the ones that I've provided are going to fit on either one mat or two mats. So these petals I'm about to show you right now are from the paper rose. And the paper rose that I chose is the 2 mat. And just to kind of show you the difference in size between the 2 mat and the 1 mat, the 2 mat, let me see if I can find a flat one. So here's the size for the 2 mat, and here's the size for the 1 mat. So obviously there's a huge size difference. It took 2 mats, so each one of the petals is larger, which means that the final flower is going to be a lot larger. But if you don't have time for 2 mats, or if you want to do a lot quickly, then you can always use the 1 mat and still get a pretty decent size rose, I think. So if you're interested in doing the larger flowers, first, I would make sure that you enjoy it, make sure that it's something that you think is feasible. The Venture is the machine that cuts the very, very large paper, but there are lots of machines that can cut up to 12 by 24 and different size mats like that, which are still going to give you very huge flowers compared to the ones that I'm doing right now. So in terms of high temperature or low temperature glue gun, I see that question in the chat. I don't think it matters, but I tend to use a low temp just because I usually burn myself. But really the point of the hot glue is just to get the hold for the petals. It's not doing a lot of heavy lifting, so I don't think you need to worry too much about that. Now, when you have the roses, when they come off the mat, the roses, the petals that come for a rose are going to be a medium size, a small size, and a large size. And then you're going to have 2 other weird shaped cuts that look like this and this. And I believe, let me check my paper, there are 5 of these small ones, 3 of these medium petals, and 7 of these large petals. And then there's 2 of these different pieces. So what happens with the rose is we start with this small piece and we roll it up. And this is going to be the centermost piece of the whole entire thing. And then this other funky piece, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to try and hold it up to show you and maybe poke through with my handy dandy thumbtack. But this piece already has slits cut in it. And so the slits that are cut in this are going to be used to put petals into. And so this piece is going to roll up and the petals are going to come out of this piece to give us all of those petals, which fold out so nicely to give us this rose shape. So we have 7 large petals, 3 medium petals, and 5 small petals. So here are my large. Here's my medium. There's only 3 of the medium. Here's a large, and then there are 5 small petals and these 2 pieces. So the one piece that has all the slits in it, you can see kind of them popping through, and I will highlight them with my thumbtack. Now, I have a thumbtack because I could not find my weeding tool right before this class, but if I had a weeding tool, I think I would use that one. But a thumbtack is obviously going to work as well. So this one has all these slits on it. These are the petals, and these are ones we roll up for the centers of the flower. So the way that you're going to fold these papers or curve these papers is very similar to what I did for the peonies. And I actually kind of started some of them already, but let me show you the large one. So the large petal that looks like this, I'm going to start off by using my scraper and holding my scraper in my thumb. And I'm going to be furling towards the side. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing, curling towards the side. But I'm not quite done yet, because what I want to do next is I want the tips of these petals to fold backwards. So I'm taking the tips of these flowers and folding them down. And what these little legs at the bottom of the flower paper are going to cross over top of each other. And this is making like a scoop, like a little cup. And then the flower petals are coming over backwards. So not only did I kind of scrape to the two sides, but then I scraped the two top petal pieces backwards. And that's what's going to give a nice, you can kind of see in this one how the petals kind of flow out. So it's that folding backwards that gives it that nice flow out. If you just leave them straight and rigid, you'll still get a nice looking rose, but I think it looks more realistic if you do a little work with the paper. And then you're going to take the two edges and you're going to put them on top of each other with some hot glue. And remember that that piece I said that's happening in the center has all those slits in it. These are what are going to go through those slits. We're making these different little legs that are eventually going to get stuck into this piece. So you're doing that with your large petals. You're going to the side. So I'm using my thumb and my scraper tool. You could also use a ruler at the side of your table. And then I'm going backwards. So not only did I go to the sides, I also went backwards. And then when you do fold these on top of each other, it kind of cups your paper and makes a three-dimensional pop. You can see that. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. And I'm going to fold these two pieces over top of each other and hold them. And try to be patient and not burn myself. There we go. And those are all the large pieces. You're going to do the same kind of thing with the medium pieces. You're going to fold the paper to both sides and you're going to curl these pieces back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other two I haven't done yet. Curling to the sides first. And this paper, I think, is 65-pound paper. If you have any other questions about the paper I'm using, please let me know in the chat and I'll try and help you with that. So I went to the side and I fold these top pieces coming down. So it's kind of like the letter S or the letter Z. Then I'm going to go ahead and do this one to the two sides. And this is actually really relaxing. I could do this all day. And then I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to put my piece of glue on the leg, put them over top of each other and hold that. And this is making us a nice sturdy base for the petal in order to put it into this next piece. So I've already done my small pieces, but my small pieces are going to be the same way, where you're going to curl to the outsides and then curl over the tops. Fold the legs on top of each other and construct those petals. Now, I've also seen it where once you finish this rose, you can imagine that you could use some pipe cleaner or a wooden dowel rod or something, and you can use some floral tape in order to make stems and actually put some into a bouquet or put some into a vase. Those end up looking really cute too. So that's another option for what you can do with these once you get the hang of it.
Hey, Megan, can you remind us again what type of paper you're using?
Yes. So this is Recollections cardstock, and it's a 65-pound cardstock. It's okay if you want to use a thicker cardstock, but I think that this one works really well for bending and moving with the scraping tool. You can also use the paper pack that's 8.5 by 11, and it actually is called like flower petals or something like that, where it has that in the title, and that's exactly what this paper was made for. And that's the
I
pack.
will put it in the link.
Do you? Thank you. That's the pack that has that gold in it, which I really think is a nice accent color. Okay, with these two pieces, what I'm going to do is, since this is going to curve up, I'm just going to kind of give it an overall curve with my tool. And then there is a spot here. Toothpick. There's a slit right here. And there is a little tab here. So what's going to happen is this piece is going to roll up. And then these are going to lock into each other. So the tab is going to go into that slit in the paper design. And whoever came up with this design originally is a genius. I'm super impressed with this design. It's so cool that they thought to be able to do it this way. And just to keep it nice and safe, I am going to put some hot glue on this tab. And I'm going to put the tab in here. So it wasn't me who created the design, just in case you were wondering. I created this version, but not the original design. So there we go. So I have rolled up this, and this is the base of our paper rose. And you have a little piece that's inside, and that's just adding some more texture so that it's not blank before it gets all the way to the center. And then all the way around, you're going to see these different slits that are here. And you're going to want to keep using something like a thumbtack or like a tool or a pin, a needle, anything in order to keep opening those pieces up so that you can see them. And we're going to start with our smallest petals, and we have 5 small petals, and we're going to do 5 small petals towards 5 of these spaces at the top. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put some glue on the back of the petal, and then I'm going to stick it, which way is it going? Here. Into one of these places that I've already kind of pre-selected. Maybe I need to do that again, just to make sure I can see where I'm going. You see that? And we'll see if I still have enough heat on my glue. There we go. So this first one is in. And what's nice is that because I did that going backwards, it's going to kind of come away from the center. And I'm going to keep going with all of my small pieces. And I'm putting some of the hot glue on the back of the leg. And then I'm sliding it into the different tabs that I see. And I'm just going to kind of spread out the first 5 in these 5 tabs. Now here's the part where there we go. Put that in there. It's fine if you have some globs because you're going to have so much covering this over here that you're never going to even be able to see that part. So I'm continuing to put glue on each one of these tabs and then putting them into the different slits and reopening those because there is going to be some hot glue that's going to be collecting because you're using a lot of hot glue. So you might need to bust through that sometimes with your thumbtack in order to slide them in. But again, this is a really cool design that you can get all of these petals into here, and they're going to keep building out to make this really beautiful rose. Let me open this next spot and make sure I'm ready. There we go. So I see where it's going. I have some hot glue on the back. And I'm able to slide it in. And I put it on the back so that when I slide it in, I have something to attach the glue to. And I can even kind of go in through here and pull this down and put it into place and make sure that that hot glue in this petal is in the right place. There we go. So I'm doing this with all 5. I'm just kind of spacing them out on the top 5 different slits. There's no rhyme or reason. You do not have to put certain places in certain ones of these already kind of sliced spaces. It will still end up looking really nice no matter where you put them. And remember, all the flowers are a little bit different in nature. So it's okay if they're a little bit different for yours too. Sliding this in. And so far, I have this much of my rose finished with these small petals. Remember that there is going to be another piece that rolls up and goes inside. So you are still going to have something to kind of cover that blank space because you can kind of see through this so far. So now we're going to go to our medium petals, and we only have 3 medium petals. So you want to kind of spread those 3 medium petals out using these different spaces. So here's a space I definitely want to put one of those medium ones in. And I'm putting glue on the back of the medium just the same way I did with the small ones. And I'm sliding it in. And then this is going to give me even more oomph to my rose. I like that. And I go to another spot. And again, this is, you can't really go wrong with where you're putting them. So don't worry too much about that. And just find the right spots for each one of these petals or what you think is going to look nice. And I bet it is going to look nice. So here's another one. And then I have one more spot here I think would be good for another medium one. And then that'll kind of wrap those up together. And then we do still have some large petals to put on. And once they are, all the petals are put in, you can kind of keep playing with them and pulling them in different directions to give the rose different looks. This is what we have so far with our small and our medium petals. And I like that quite a bit. And there are just the perfect number of slits in here. So I'm going to keep going with the next one. I think you can kind of see it right here. And it'll take some playing around. When I first tried to put these together, I just had the cut and I didn't really know the directions of how to put them together. And it was a little bit of a challenge. So I'm hoping that this video will help you know how to assemble it once you do have the papers cut. So that one slid in really nice. And you can kind of see that they're starting to collect in here too. And that's absolutely okay. That is just fine. I'm going to keep going with the large petals, putting glue on the back of each one and sliding them into their places. So the flower I'm working on right now was a 2 mat flower, which gave my petals a little bit bigger size, but a 1 mat paper rose is also available. And it's really not that tiny. It's actually a pretty nice size itself. So you can put these together and kind of see the difference that just a little bit bigger petals is going to do. And you can imagine that if you want to use an even bigger pattern than the one I've already provided, you can make even bigger flowers. So we're doing the paper roses and the paper peonies today. And on Cricut Design Space, there are a lot of other designers and a lot of other people who've made a lot of other really pretty paper flowers that you can kind of try out too and see if you want a variety of paper flowers. So I forgot to do the slit there, but I went ahead and went through, and I'm getting a hot glue jungle down here. There we go. And I could even grab this one. I can snip that off if I want to, or you can leave it. It's fine for now, definitely. I think I have a couple more spaces left. If you have questions, please let me know in the chat. If not, thanks for following along. And I hope that when you get a chance to print these out and try them yourself, that you're able to find this video helpful in assembling your paper flowers. So this video will be available on YouTube soon, probably Monday morning. And then you can check it out after you've had some time to find paper and print these petals out. And then grab a glue gun, maybe watch some TV, and put together some really cool party petals. Ooh, this one's giving me trouble. There we go. Gotcha now. Gonna pull that through. And I think I'm gonna put a little bit more hot glue in here just to kind of get that last piece to stay. And I am gonna go back through and trim this off. So if you kind of see what I'm talking about, these longer petals towards the bottom, I can trim those off with a scissor real nice and easy. Thank you. Yes. You got to tell the hot glue what you want it to do. Let them know. Let them know. I am going to put this one right here. So it's ready for me. Sliding through. Hot glue, I'm the boss of you. You can trademark that. Ooh, it is trying to win, but I won. So how to remember how to assemble all the pieces? I think the best way might be to go back to this video, and you can kind of take some notes in And just, I write down even just something small and dinky like this, like too large, too medium, too small. So I remember once I cut the pieces, how many go with each one of the flowers I'm working on. And then it is a little bit foolproof in the fact that this only has a certain number of slots in it. So you can't really mess up how many you put in, or if you get there and there's one more slot at the end, you know that you're missing a petal. So I think the other tips I have, the peonies you saw did not take as much time as the roses because they have much fewer pieces. The roses have a lot more pieces, so they are going to take some more time to assemble. So the goal is always stacking and building out. So we're starting from the top and going down, or in case of the peonies, we're starting from the largest pieces and going in. Oh, now I'm not even done yet, and look how pretty this already is. And this is large. This is almost the size of two of my hands. So we have one last piece, and this last piece is a little roll up, and it has two tabs and it has two slots right here and right here. So when we roll this up, we're going to have an inner portion and an outer portion. So you roll up one side, and this tab is going to go into one of these slits. And then you're going to keep rolling and get to the other side. And then this tab is going to go into the second one. So to keep this stable, once I get this through, I'm going to go ahead and hot glue it. So here's my piece. The shorter edge rolls up first, and the tab goes through that slot. I'm going to use some hot glue to keep that tab in place. Thank you. I'm getting some comments in the chat that talk about how beautiful this rose is, and I agree. It is so pretty. So here's this innermost part, nice. And then this is going to keep wrapping around, and it's going to go into this next spot. So I'm going to want to put some hot glue on it too, just to keep it handy and steady. And I'm going to stick that tab into this space. Aha! And I have done it. So this is like, it kind of looks like a dollar bill rolled up almost. And it's going to be the innermost part of your rose. So I told you before that with this hot glue jungle I have going on down here, if there are some pieces that are sticking out, you can use scissors and cut them down. I'll show you another thing that I tend to do at the end of my projects too, once we put this in. So this last piece, I know, right? Here we go. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to hot glue around, and I'm going to stick this into the center of the flower to give it a nice inner bud. That already looks awesome. Now you might be able to see through a little bit on the bottom. And what I recommend for that is cutting a circle the size of the bottom and going ahead and putting that same color circle to kind of cap it. So you might be able to see on some of the other ones I've done before. This is chunky because it used to be in this display I'm about to show you, but you can put a circle right here and just hot glue it in. I really do this. This is not a joke. I usually put some hot glue and just like put hot glue in here. Just put hot glue in here and let it all kind of solidify so that it keeps all of those stems in place nice and handy. And then when I flip this over, look at how beautiful this flower is. So this is a 2 matte rose. This is a 1 matte rose. You can tell the difference. This is a 1 matte peony. This is a 1 matte peony. And you can use lots of different colors. Even if you just take a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock like this one I have, you can arrange these together and you can kind of come up with some beautiful things. And then you could hang this on a wall. So you could build some kind of flower backdrop if you wanted to. The way I built something a little more sturdy over here, like I was showing you in the pictures for this class or of this, I obviously have painted in this box before, but this is a printer lid. A printer paper box lid. So I took a cardboard box that already kind of had this 1 inch or 2 inches of thickness so that it could pop through. And I took an X-Acto knife and cut X's. And after I cut X's, you can poke through. And then I put a lot of hot glue all the way around my rose and stuck in my rose. So that's exactly how I assembled this, was just using those holes that I cut with an X-Acto knife and kind of putting them together. So I could even put this purple one we just made, ooh, into my collection and keep going. And then it's nice when you have these smaller pieces, it's really cool to stick one of those smaller flowers in. So it's nice to have a variety of sizes. It's nice to have a variety of colors, and you can really play with these and make a really pretty centerpiece. If I filled up this whole box lid and just sat it on the table, I bet I would get a lot of positive comments because it is absolutely gorgeous. So I hope that some of you go ahead and try this. All the links are going to be under the YouTube video. And I just really am glad that you all came today and played along. And I can't wait to see what you made. So please, if you make anything, use the tag Learn with Michaels. And I'll be happy to see you again on Thursdays and Fridays in March. We'll do lots of different crafts together. So bye. Thank you for coming.